Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Unite in Light Domestic Violence Awareness Conference. Thank you so much for being a part of this whole event through the month of October. We met last week 2 different times, and now this week it is our second time this week for a grand total of 4 speakers. And tonight we have Miss Melinda Kunst, and we are excited to have her here. She's going to talk about healing and many steps of how we can go through this, and it's kind of rolling up our sleeves and being responsible. So, if you are here for the first time in the Unite in Light conference, tonight's meeting is something really exciting, and we will have another one for the next 2 weeks on the Tuesday and Thursday. We allow that opportunity for many people who might not be able to go to a full conference for a full day. It's possible that in their lives, they are still within a dangerous situation, or they've just left and they need to keep their job, and asking for a full day off is just not feasible. So we allow this opportunity to be every Tuesday and Thursday night through the month of October, as well as to celebrate the awareness that we can have in changing lives. Speaking of changing lives, we know that many lives have been changed over the past weekend in the horrific manner that Israel has been attacked. So, to all of our Jewish brothers and sisters out there, we're going to give a little moment of silence, hopefully within your heart and prayers. They can feel protected, loved, and supported, and that may peace come upon the world again. Thank you for that moment, and I hope that that prayer continues on. Well, welcome, Melinda. We are grateful to have you here tonight, and share with us a little bit about yourself and get us started.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Well, my journey started as a child, but fast forward, I ended up in a domestic violence situation, the childhood abuse as well. And I finally left my abuser. I'm throwing everything in a nutshell in 2009, and it's been 14 glorious years that I have been free. And in that journey, I've been able to it's almost like a new life for me. It was very surreal not having any type of abuse or a drama and trauma in my life. It took adjusting since I had grown up in a violent situation, learning how to then become normal, if you want to call it that, into a healthy relationship was very hard for me to adjust. And just in case I forget to mention it later, I am remarried. I married my Mr. Awesome. We do have a 13-year-old together. So, what did that look like for me? It was really tough. I had those moments where I was crying in the bathroom, in my car, anytime I could steal a moment just to maybe yell or scream because my abuser was still very abusive. See, that's what people don't tell you when you leave that type of a relationship, that the trauma can still go on with your abuser or with the court system. So I felt very lost and very helpless for a very long time. I had to start rebuilding my life. In doing so, it was messy. Okay. It wasn't all glitter and unicorns. It looked very painful. It really did. If you looked at me then to where I am now, it's a totally different life that I have now. And I have learned to love the life that I have. I didn't expect to make it to 40 years old. I left him when I was 39. I would be surprised at that time if I had made it to 40. There were moments where I felt like taking my own life back then. And it's very I'm trying to think of the right words. Just if anybody's hanging on by a thread, please don't give up. Okay. And even when you just jumped out of that relationship, please hold on. I know it looks messy. I know it looks very hard, but please just hold on. And I'm going to give you some things that I did. And I actually have my cheat sheets here that I did in order to help me. They were very inexpensive. They were things that I can do in 5 minutes. I'm all about 5 minutes self care. And these were things that I know that I was capable of doing. Now, I stumbled during my journey. I'll be honest with you. There were times where in moments where I felt, I can't do this. This is just really dumb. It's stupid. It's not working. So I know if you've said these words, yeah, I'm there with you. I felt that same way. So how do you heal? How do you begin? Sometimes you need to go no contact. I know that might be hard if you have a child or children with that person, but maybe just rather than feeling you have to answer that call or that text and so on, maybe just wait a little while. Let it go to voicemail. Just roll it on over. Listen to that voicemail, or have somebody that you trust, maybe a friend or a loved one, listen to the message, the text message, look at that for you, and to gauge whether that's an emergency. Now, of course, if your children are with that person during that time, yes, you might want to answer that, be readily available. But if this is on a weekend or a week when you don't have to worry about your children going with that person, then go ahead, give yourself that moment to breathe, see if it's an emergency or if it's pressing, then go ahead and respond. Okay, you are not at that beck and call anymore, just as a reminder. And I had a hard time doing so. I had a hard time giving away that phone to somebody. And my sister had the courage to tell me, you need to just let me have that phone. And it was very hard for me to get rid of that drama that's attached to it because I was living in this high cortisol and all of these high hormones that kind of made me crave that communication. Like, what's he doing? Is he on social media? And I would keep looking for that. So it was almost like if you've had a sugar addiction, trying to come down for that from that, that's what it was like for me. So going no contact is really, if you can do it, please do so. Limit your contact as much as you can, and I know it's challenging. Now, if you are, let's say, dropping off your children, what you can do is maybe just wait in the car. You do not need to visit with them. They might try and engage you with a lot of questions. You can just keep them as yes or no. You do not need to keep engaging. This person does not need to know your every information, your schedule, or anything anymore. You want to try and make that clean break. So, if you want to bring a friend, maybe even to witness or keep them on the phone while you're making that exchange, especially if it's a volatile situation, please do so. I'm more than likely, I'm more than likely certain that many friends would be very happy to help you. Now, again, maybe it doesn't work. So then just stick to the facts. If this person's going to want to keep pressing you, just keep to the facts. Maybe yes, no, meh. I don't know if you've heard of gray rocking. Maybe try the gray rock method. If you don't know what that is, you can contact me and be happy to explain that to you. And it can be challenging, but they're waiting for you to try to get to respond. So also during family get-togethers, we're going to have holidays where you might need to engage with this person. It's hard to break away from family, especially if you were in maybe married to this person for a long time or in that long-term relationship. But you might want to go ahead and respectfully decline. And I know that might be hard because you might be really attached to these people. But try to, if you can't, try to stagger the times that you go to the gathering or maybe when you leave, just so you don't bump into this person. Now, remember also, you can grieve for your relationship, and I encourage you to do so. If you feel like crying, fine, cry. If you feel like yelling or screaming, let yourself do so. It's okay. You were in this relationship with the person where there were promises that were made. You had commitments to one another. There was dreams, I'm sure, that you had with this person. So do allow yourself to go ahead and grieve. I encourage you to do so. Now, also throughout this healing process, when I mentioned talk to somebody, it could be a licensed therapist, it could be a counselor, or it could be a trusted friend. Okay, whatever that looks like for you, please do so. You don't have to go on this road alone. Now, remember, if you do, like let's say you go ahead and you have the courage to let this person back into your life, maybe they've made some changes. I'm going to encourage you just to kind of sit back and see what they're doing before you just take them back in, because sometimes we can get trapped back into that cycle if we take them back, and we don't want to do that. So make sure that if they promise they're going to go to counseling, hold their feet to the fire. Make sure that they are going to counseling. See the results of that. Oh, well, I've went to 2 meetings and yeah, that person's dumb. Maybe that's something you might have heard. No, you want them to keep going, or maybe they need to find somebody that they do mesh with, and that's okay too. But again, before you jump back in, give it time. You might be encouraged by family and friends. Oh, they've changed. I'm going to say he. Again, this abuse can be between men and women or women and men, so it can look different. But they might say, "Oh, they've changed. They've changed because they really want you to get back together." Please, again, just wait. Listen to your instinct. Trust your gut. And I'm going to get to that in a second too. So it's hard to trust. Again, it really can be. You might feel like, "Oh, I was so stupid. I made the mistake, and I didn't listen to those bells and whistles that were going off. What if I make that mistake again?" I had that. I had that myself. I went through that even so much as right before I married my Mr. Awesome, the night before, I told him I don't want to get married. I was so scared that once he got that ring on my finger, that things would change. Even though we had been together for several years prior to that, I still had that in my mind that there was a possibility that things might change, a dynamic might change. And so that really made me afraid. And he was gentle and kind enough to say, "You know what, Mel? If you don't want to get married tomorrow, you don't have to. We can just keep things as they are. Why don't you sleep on it and think about it?" Well, of course, I did say I'm married, so I am married. I did marry him, and nothing changed. It was something that I had to realize on my own. And I did battle with myself over that evening. I did talk to God and asked Him a lot of questions and prayed on it before I walked down that aisle. But once I saw Him up at that altar, everything just changed. It was just magical for me. It really was. So, starting to trust your instincts again, that can be really challenging. So, if you have feelings about somebody that are kind of off putting, do me a favor and listen to that. Trust your gut. I didn't do that with my first husband. Now, I had those bells and whistles going off, but I didn't listen to them. I also had friends that were telling me, "Oh, he's so nice. He really is. He's awesome." And so I kind of pushed everything down. It's like, "Okay, well maybe they're right." I trusted my friends, right? We should all trust our friends. We were also teenagers. Let me throw that in too. So be cautious. You might not want to leave this person with your children as an example. Maybe you are need a babysitter, but please be cautious when leaving your children with this person. You might want to not introduce your children until you really know this person. I know a few ladies that actually waited 6 months to a year before introducing their children to a new partner. And, you want to genuinely feel that you can trust this person. Now, trust the instincts of your children and even your pets. Sometimes our animals and our children can be a really good gauge of a character of a person. Now, I was a surly teenager when my mom met my stepdad, my new stepdad, and I have to admit, I didn't like him, but he was so good to my mom. I never told my mom that I didn't like him, but this can happen. So use and trust your judgment when it comes to both pets and children, but I do find that they are a really good gauge. Sometimes I know I couldn't trust myself, but I would look to the mannerisms of my children or the pets as well. That's maybe that's a myth. I'm not sure if there's a science to that, but trust your gut too. Just start slowly. Again, if you hear those bells and whistles going off about a person, maybe right after 2 weeks they're in love with you, they want to marry you, that might be a red flag. So, to slowly start rebuilding your life again, what else can you do? Maybe you've been in the same town forever. It could be that you know everybody in town and they all know your business. Well, have you considered maybe moving? You might want to move to a different town, or maybe you need to have a job change. Just something little to go ahead and shift if you want to call it a vibration or the energy within you and also around you. Now, also keep in mind that if you have those connections with old family and friends that were through mutual relationships with your ex, remember that they also might be toxic. It might not seem that way right off the bat, but sometimes those masks, they slowly come off. So just be careful. They might seem like they have your back, like they just want the best for you, but maybe they're telling your ex about information about you, about your children. So please be mindful. Just be careful. Start journaling. Okay, journaling was something that I really held dear, and I still do. Any thoughts that I had, any memories that I had, I put them down on paper. This not only served me to remember and was therapeutic, but it also came to where I needed to document different types of abuse that was going on still currently or in the past. It also served as something for a book that I did finally eventually write. So it helped me with many breakthroughs when I felt that maybe this was me, maybe it was my fault. Maybe if I had done ABC, this wouldn't have happened. Putting it down on paper helped me realize that what I experienced was not my fault. So that was really big. You don't have to keep the journal. You can keep it as a paper trail for perhaps counseling, or maybe you need it for legal reasons as well. You might want to save it for those purposes, or you can tear it up. I know many people that have done little prayers over them or some sort of healing ritual where they burn it. That's entirely up to you. You are welcome to do that. Or on the flip side, I've known a few people that intend to keep it for their children so their children can know what they went through. So it's a very personal decision on what you want to do. But, think about that. Exercise. Oh, I know people don't want to hear exercising, but that really helped with not only the nervous energy that I had or feeling really down about myself, but I needed an outlet to get rid of some of that excess, bad feelings that I had about myself. Not only my physical appearance, I was feeling very down about what my ex had told me in the past. He had told me different things like you're fat, you're ugly, well, some things that I cannot say on this right now just because they're very degrading and vulgar. But getting myself in shape, starting walking, starting to exercise again, started to build my self-esteem back up, and it also improved my health, and I really enjoy doing that. So I encourage you, even if it's for 5 minutes, please do so. Just get outdoors, take your pet if you have a dog, maybe a cat, rabbit, whatever that looks like for you, or get the kids outside too. It's very, very good for you guys to get some air. You need to go ahead and break up that energy again. I'm all about breaking up the energy. That is something that's very important to me to do. So you stay in the same area, you stay doing the same routine, it gets very stale. So get outdoors, go walk at a different park you've never been to. You never know who you're going to meet. You might make some great friends this way because when you're out of that abusive relationship, you can feel very lonely. And it's nice to finally meet somebody that's outside of that type of relationship that you might have a connection with. And I'm not saying it's a romantic connection, just somebody to get to know that might not know you and all that ugly mess that you just went through. It's nice to have a clean relationship to start over with. Now, you don't have to start up with a marathon or sign up with a gym to do some kind of big, hardcore exercise. Just start small. Okay, but just start, just baby steps. Start slow also. Now, when I mentioned about the therapeutic reasons to keep your journal and also to talk to a friend and counselor, these are also a great way to learn new patterns. It can help you overcome those patterns that you might have of not trusting somebody. Maybe you have issues with boundaries as well. Maybe you need to find different coping skills. It could be that you learned so much through this journaling that maybe you have issues of abandonment. So you can find that a lot of that in your journaling as well. So you might also consider volunteering. When I mentioned about being lonely, volunteering for some sort of cause, volunteering for something that you hold dear, that's really important, or giving back to your community. It can make you feel good. And again, remember what I mentioned about introducing yourself to somebody new or meeting new people? This is a great way to also have meet new people and also experiences. And something else that I love to do, and I even have it, I don't have it right now, but I have it on my phone. I have an alarm that's called the gratitude alarm, and I set this for several times throughout my day. I didn't feel very grateful for the things that I had. I didn't realize I had a lot to be grateful for. I was feeling very down with myself when I had left my abuser, kind of sorry for myself. And when I started to do the gratitude, I realized that I have so much more. I was very rich in my life and I was very blessed. So I had to take time and start putting that down on paper, but now I do the alarm. So the gratitude alarm is I set it for about 3 times throughout the day, and anytime I hear that alarm go off, I stop what I'm doing and I find something to be grateful for. I say something out loud to be grateful for. Well, maybe you don't feel like you want to do that out loud, but maybe in your mind. As an example, I've gone to the grocery store and in the checkout line, my alarm goes off. Whoa, I still stop with gratitude. I stop that and just I'm grateful for maybe the line went fast, or I'm grateful for maybe I got a spot that was really close, something like that. And I try and change it up all the time. I don't make it always about my kids or my husband. I try to make it different each time. And that's been a little challenging, but it's also lets me dig into recognizing what else I could be grateful for besides the food on my table and that I have a roof over my head. So I'm going to challenge you to think out of the box and try that. Okay. Maybe someone complimented your hair or they said, "Oh, you have a great smile." Somebody might have bought coffee for you, but I encourage you to try that. And also affirmations. Oh, now I've heard so many people talk about affirmations. At first, I didn't want to do them. I thought, well, that's so stupid, just standing in front of the mirror and saying things about myself. It just sounded dumb. Well, I tried it. And I'll be honest, I couldn't do it. The very first time I tried it for 3 weeks. I could not do it. I couldn't look at myself in the eyes and say, I love you because I wasn't feeling it. And I get it. If you maybe you understand where I'm coming from. Honestly, you might have felt the same way. So it took baby steps for me to do. I finally did get back to doing it a couple weeks later, but I didn't say, Melinda, I love you. Instead, I said, hey, I'm proud of you. You got out of bed today. Or it was, "Hey, you shaved your legs." It was something small, and to recognize that I couldn't look at myself in the eyes, it was very eye-opening for me that I needed more work, that I needed some help with my self-esteem because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. When I brushed my teeth in the morning, I just hurried up and I did it. I didn't look at myself in the eyes. I couldn't stand myself. I didn't like the reflection of that person staring back at me in the morning. So it took a lot of time for me to start believing what I was saying. Again, I started slow. Once again, I did start, "Hey, you made the bed today. Great job." Or, "Hey, you know what? You look really good today." And then I also started to think about what would I want to tell my child or what would I tell my best friend that was right beside me? Would I tell them, "Man, you're fat," or "Man, you're ugly," or "You look awful in that"? No, I'm going to tell them they look fabulous. "Hey, you look like a diva." And I realized that I needed to start telling myself that too, because I am precious and I am worth it. So it was baby steps. It was small. And again, sometimes I didn't believe what I was telling myself, but I did keep doing it because I wanted to reinforce that. I even would go so far if I had court or I had times where I had to meet with my ex, that would make me really nervous. I would look in the mirror and I would do a pose. It would be like a Wonder Woman pose. My hands would be on my hips or like this, kind of like I'm courageous or I'm enough or I'm awesome, something like that. It was empowering to me. I would lift up my chest and just look at myself in the mirror and remind myself how brave I was. And again, took time. It does take time. It doesn't happen overnight, but I encourage you, don't give up. Small steps. Now, you might even want to repeat these several times throughout the day. I went so far as I don't have that with me right now. I wrote them on index cards and I had a ring on them too so they wouldn't get lost. And I put them in a little bag like a pencil bag like for school and I would keep those in my purse. That was early on, and reason why I did that is I needed that reinforcement so much in those early days when I was starting that healing journey, and that helped me out so much. Anytime I felt down, or maybe I got off the phone with the attorney and I felt discouraged, I would pull one of my cards and remind myself, hey, you are enough. You are worthy. Or maybe a Bible verse that would work for me. I really did like that. I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. I needed something like that. So self care can look and can make you recognize where you need that extra help, where you need to heal, and where you need to be maybe loved. Where am I lacking? What do I need to work on? But you are also worthy of being respected and cherished. You really do. And I encourage you to think of out of the box. Again, I mentioned that again. Different ways for yourself to heal. Your healing journey is going to look a lot different than mine, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be like mine. Most of these things I can do, like I said, 5 minutes. I love 5 minute self care. You can take longer. Maybe toss on some music and dance, shake. If you've heard of stemming, there's stemming. Get musical instruments out. Sing. I love singing. That also helps with our vagus nerve. So do something that feels right for you. And what is that going to look like? Is that going to be shopping? Is that going to be that you're going to head out to the beach and walk along that and go into the ocean? What does healing look like for you? It could be that you're going to a therapist. Maybe you're on medication, and there is no shame in that, by the way. It's going to look different from everybody. And, if you have any advice for me, I'm happy to listen. I'm always evolving. I'm always taking advice from others or hints, or maybe they have
So, in
suggestions.
that process, it seems like the power and the opportunity to do those things really are up to one thing is making a choice to start. And if you start small, it looks like that's going to have your success that you're going to start to the next and to the next. So, Melinda, this has been amazing advice. And I have some people here who are asking great questions. So, I'm going to throw some of these questions up. I hope you're
Sure.
up for it. Are you guys
Okay.
ready? Okay. So, I've got one here from Abby. And it says, what if she makes the same mistake? Zero support system, can't move far away. Then they're too embarrassed to ask for help. What can we do?
A lot of the self care that I'm talking about right now, but also I encourage you maybe to reach out to a local shelter. They might have some information or resources for you in order to get you some help. Um, I would consider joining maybe your community if you feel safe in an event, or maybe a charity event if you have children, maybe in kids' schools, just to get yourself back out there again. And I know that's really rough when you don't have a support system. I was very lucky I did have that. There's also great online communities. I know I have one myself. It's the Survivors Cafe, but there are online communities that you can also reach out to, maybe on Facebook or wherever else there is on social media, in order to find your own community if you can't find that on your own. I'm so sorry.
It is a challenge, and I encourage you to look and be picky, especially if you're doing
Mhm.
online social communities. I know I joined some, and it was kind of like it matched where I was within the healing. And then as I got beyond that, I didn't need that part
Mhm.
anymore because I had healed to a different place. And then I started to find resources that were there, and then that gave me the support I needed till I could move to another. And so I think allow yourself to be that flexibility, because sometimes we find ourselves stuck within that same victim, or we have to just share the story. And that is a step in the process of healing. I am not downgrading that. However, it's a step. Just because you took one step means what? You've taken one step. There's a lot more. And from that victim and sharing, you then become into that more empowerment of that survivor. If there's everything that you look at of this can't happen, nope, nope, nope. Every suggestion and offer that comes in is a hard no across the board. That might be a red flag to yourself to think,
Mhm.
oh, maybe, maybe I need to have a mind shift here. Everything is wrong. Everything won't work. Poor me, poor me, poor me. That's tough. That's a mirror moment of like, Oops. Hmm. So start small and start little bit. There are opportunities there. I have one from John
Oh,
Michael. Oh,
oh,
go
hold
ahead.
on 1 minute.
Yeah.
I would also do, because there were times where I felt like I was still living in that victimhood, where I would start using visualizations. I would start visualizing, like, because you are the master of you're the captain of your ship. You are the person in your own movie. So what I would do is I would actually start visualizing the outcomes of different things that I would want to happen. So I would visualize maybe you moving to a new town. I would start thinking about, well, what would my apartment or my home look like? Or what would that new job look like? Or what kind of friends do I want to hang out with? But start visualizing that for yourself, like it's happening, like it's happened. And I encourage you to think about that several times throughout the day. What does that look like for you? How does that feel for you? And really dig into that. What are the sights and the sounds that you're going to create or are creating when you're visualizing?
I love that. You could even set a visualization alarm.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
That would be
exactly.
really fun. That would be a fun thing, and, like, "Hang on, I gotta visualize something, hang on."
Yes,
Like, the world stop for just "I'll answer that question in 2 seconds, kid, I gotta visualize." That'd be
exactly.
kind of fun. That would be great. So, another question comes to us from John Michael Lander, and this is a great question. I'm gonna throw this up here, and says, "What do you have any suggestions, or other different methods other than just a therapist? My abuse involved therapist." Ooh. What?
Oh,
John hits us with the big ones.
oh no, John, I am so sorry. Definitely look at different healing modalities such as EMDR. There is, oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. There are so many other ones out there. There's the tapping, the freedom technique. And for me myself, I'll be honest with you, I tried therapy and I didn't stick with therapy. I ended up going on my own and doing my own thing, and which is a lot different than some people do. But I encourage you, there are some great modalities out there. There's some great coaches, and you can do like a Zoom. You don't even have to go in person, but trust your gut again. I am so sorry. I hope something comes out of that, that you're able to find some peace with that, but find what works for you. And I hope you were able to, I don't know if you felt brave enough to go to the authorities in order to maybe help that it doesn't happen to somebody else. But there are some great things that you can look at despite, or excuse me, instead of talk therapy.
Right? There are so many different ways. I know sometimes just listening to different podcasts about things
Yeah.
gives enough a perspective or an idea. And then I'm going to set another alarm for my idea alarms here and think about how does that impact me? What can happen there? Just recently, looking at all of the events that happened over the weekend, listening to somebody was really a wonderful shift in how to understand something that I was kind of grappling with. It was like, well, if these things are here, then don't most other people feel and think this way? And going through the research and like, okay, so I am here in this way of thinking, and where I thought this was also, so if you're kind of within the same mindset or thinking, then you can kind of come together. In this
Right.
particular situation, I was thinking of my mindset, whatever was right here, and theirs wasn't even near the planet. And I was like, I was assuming that they had a similar moral value, frame set, and that kind of thing. It just opened up and was very freeing to go, okay, now I can understand in the chaos why the chaos is actually happening.
Right.
And it didn't remove the chaos. Things are still challenging, but my grappling with it all really changed. So, again, sometimes those podcasts can help. There are some more questions here. Um, let's see. Was it that you did not like the person in the mirror, or did the mirror reflect back the bad memories? Ooh,
Ooh.
so I told you he's good.
No, I really didn't like myself in the mirror because I would point out all the faults that I had, that my ex had said that I had, the crooked teeth, my nose was too big, the circles under my eyes. And then I had, but my light bulb moment is when I realized that that voice in my head was not mine. That was his. It was my ex. I realized that that wasn't me actually believing this. It was him. It was just his voice in my head. So that was a big light bulb moment. And it didn't happen right away. It did take a while for me to realize that and recognize that voice. And then
Love that.
what I did is I actually, when I would hear my ex's voice in my head saying, "Oh, you can't do that," or you'll never amount to anything," I then would flip the switch and literally in my mind, I would speed up that voice in my mind. So it sounded like the Chipmunks or Mickey Mouse. And then I would play it real slow. And you can do this over time. It did take me a little while, but then every time I heard that voice, his voice in my head, I would just giggle. So that allowed me and to really heal and kind of kick him out of my head.
I love that. We have a little saying that's kind of similar that we tell the kids that if they're having a nightmare, a bad dream, the worst, it's almost going to get you. You have a cream pie and you throw it at them. And it just kind of, what? Like out of left field, the fear, the terror, cream pie. So odd. So just not even in the perspective. See, it's that like, because I bet something was going in your mind right there. Like, what was the scariest terrorist thing? And then, oh, probably nothing. Oh, this is probably just something I can walk away from. Oh, now again, we're not making too light, but we're trying to show perspective because
Exactly.
healing is a process. And Melinda is a roll your sleeve up kind of gal. She's 5 minute, let's take care of yourself because life's happening.
Yes.
But notice that even within the steps she shared, she didn't say, so like in 10 minutes, you good? Okay, let's go fix the world. Like it was like baby
Oh no.
steps, little
Yeah.
bit. And she said, 14 years. These things take time. And I will tell you that a trigger moment will happen. I'm 18 years out, and it kind of happens. But I will say the sustainability of what could have happened or like, spiraling down forever, it's maybe like 3 or 4 minutes now.
Exactly.
And
Right.
I'm like, oh, well, look at you. That's just
Yeah.
so good. It takes time. Again, this is not 18 days out, 18 months
Right.
out. We're talking years. So we're like near 6,800 days. So it's got time. All right,
Right.
y'all. So it is okay. So thank you so much for jumping in here, sharing all of those questions. That's fantastic.
Yes. Thank you.
And I'm gonna pop in a few things right here because I've been looking at questions. Melinda, she's amazing. You can see running on the ticker underneath her. A way to contact her is through her linked tree. And so as it comes, there it is coming across. You can take a screenshot of that, make sure that you want to connect with her. Melinda has coaching opportunities as well as she has a PDF right now that is called Call Me Master. And you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, remember that journal that I told you about? Well, I had my family and friends, they said, you know what, you have enough for a book. So, with a lot of hesitancy, because I still had the shame, I did publish that. It's from actually from childhood, a brief little glimpse of my childhood abuse, excuse me, to what happened with my ex and after I left him. Because again, once you leave that abuser, that relationship, the abuse doesn't always end. It still continues. And so I did share that, my journey and how it looked like for me and what I did, things that happened, and so on and so on. So it's called Call Me Master, and there's a reason for that, and it's in the book.
Wonderful. So you want to get a hold of her, go to that link tree. She'll be able to get you a copy of that.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this evening. And we hope that these perspectives, along with a little bit of humor, you rolling up your sleeves, taking those 5 minutes, maybe can give you some hope so you
Yes.
don't just stay within the cycle and that you can start the healing process and allow yourself to process.
Yes.
Okay. Allow yourself to go through all of it. Thank you everybody for being here. I just, like John said, love that whole concept of the voice, right? Changing it all over you, realizing it was somebody else and not your own self. It's a lot easier to turn somebody else down.
Exactly.
So wonderful, wonderful
Thank you,
points.
Jen.
Thank you so much, Melinda. And everyone, if you would like to contact her, again, that link tree is running on the ticker underneath. Her name is Melinda Kunst, and wonderful evening about healing. Thank you so much for being here in the Unite in Light Domestic Violence Awareness Conference. We'll see you all next week where we will meet John Michael Lander. And I'm so excited for that Tuesday
Yay.
evening. See you all later.